You can support me by turning on notifications, subscribing to my channel, and liking the video. Waiting for your comments. A bloody oath born from a dream. The uncanny nightmare pact coming true at dawn was the rumor swirling in the old coastal town of Grisham's Point, an eerie place of crumbling piers and houses battered by relentless winds. Its residents spoke in hushed tones of a single night from the past, nearly a century ago, when a group of young friends made a secret vow in their sleep. By sunrise, that vow had left one of them dead and the others forever changed. Ever since, on nights when the full moon shrouded itself behind swirling clouds, mysterious footprints would be found in the sand near the deserted lighthouse, leading nowhere. Some say that's where the oath's specter emerges, restless and seeking new souls to seal a pact. But to understand how the dream-born vow could exact a bloody toll, we must revisit the original tragedy. It began with 5 childhood companions: Alexander, Juna, Meredith, Rowan, and Isaac. They were inseparable in their teenage years, exploring the rocky beaches, rummaging through old boat sheds, and scrawling messages on the pitted stones. Then, in the summer of 1923, as storms battered the coast daily, something dark crept into their circles. Rumors differ on the cause. Some blame an old family feud between Alexander and Rowan, the others speak of a curse from a local wise woman. Regardless, the group tension was palpable. One night, after a day of feuding, they retreated to a shack behind the crumbling lighthouse to ride out the gale. A single oil lantern lit the rickety space. Feeling restless, they decided to pass the time by reading strange incantations from an old dusty book that Meredith had found in her great-uncle's attic. They mostly laughed at the archaic language until they came across one particular passage that promised to bind friends in unbreakable unity by forging an oath of dream. They half-jokingly recited the lines, letting the storm's thunder punctuate their words. Thunder rolled like distant drums, and the lamp flickered. They did not realize their casual words, spoken in half-jest, might hold real weight. Eventually, they dozed off, lulled by the pounding rain. But that collective slumber delivered them the same dream, a dark figure in a swirling cloak, urging them to finalize the vow with blood. In each dream, the figure demanded a drop from each of them, insisting that, by dawn, your loyalty shall be tested. Each youth experienced it from a slightly different vantage, but the key details were consistent: a shadow-laden clearing, an unseen blade, a whispered command. When they awoke around dawn, the storm had abated. They exchanged uneasy glances, discovering that they all dreamt of the same robed entity. Even more disturbing, each found a tiny prick on their index finger, a droplet of dried blood, as if the dream had pierced them in reality. Confusion thickened. Meredith tried to laugh it off, but her voice shook. Isaac, the calmest of them, suggested it was mass hysteria. Yet the sense of dread wouldn't dissipate. They parted ways to handle chores and rest, promising to meet later. That afternoon, the entire town reeled from news. Alexander was found lifeless on the beach, a single slash across his palm. No sign of struggle, no footprints near him. His expression, as described by the local fisherman who discovered him, was one of abject terror. Rumor had it that the cut in Alexander's palm was shaped like an odd symbol, reminiscent of the incantation in that old book. Juna, in tears, told the authorities about the dream and the vow. They dismissed it as an overwrought reaction to tragedy. But the seeds of the legend were sown. In the weeks after Alexander's funeral, Juna, Meredith, Rowan, and Isaac reported hearing faint chanting at night. They'd awaken soaked in cold sweat, half expecting to see a robed figure in the corner of their bedrooms. Juna insisted that, in one dream, the shadowy entity demanded they gather again before the next full moon or face more bloodshed. Desperate to avoid another death, They forced themselves to meet at the same lighthouse shack. By then, rumors of a cursed oath had spread. Locals gave them a wide berth, as though suspecting dark magic. The group, though terrified, wanted to break the vow. They tried rereading the incantation to find a reversal or some clue. But pages referencing an escape or retraction of the oath were smeared and unreadable. Furious storms hammered the coast once more, as if nature itself raged against them. That night, they kept vigil with a single lantern again, hoping to remain awake. Yet, near midnight, a drowsiness overcame them, heavier than any normal fatigue. As they slipped into communal sleep, each encountered the robed figure anew, more defined this time. They glimpsed malevolent eyes under a hood, lips twisted in a cruel grin. One drop of blood was the beginning. It hissed in unison into their minds. The vow must conclude with your proof of loyalty, or you shall feed my hunger. In that dream plain, the four stood at the beach, the sky a bruised purple. The robed figure extended a dagger, demanding they cut their flesh to seal the pact. Rowan refused, brandishing the old book's incantation. The figure laughed, intangible, and the dream erupted in swirling black mist. They woke screaming, the lantern extinguished. Cold dawn light revealed no footprints or damage in the shack, but each had a fresh slash on their palm, mirroring the symbol on Alexander's. Fear swallowed them. Juno wept uncontrollably. Isaac tried to calm her, but his own voice quavered. The next few nights, they scattered, each cowering in their homes. Sleep turned into a battleground, haunted by the robed specter demanding blood. Another tragedy soon followed. Rowan was found unconscious on the same beach, his hand carved with that symbol. He survived, but only just delirious with fever. In his rare lucid moments, he spoke of a bloody oath come to life. The townsfolk panicked. Talk of a demonic presence or a vengeful spirit from an older time took hold. Some murmured that the robed figure was a remnant of a cult once operating in the region, drawn forth by the unwitting incantation. Others pinned blame on malevolent forces from the sea, as storms battered the fishing fleets too. At last, Juna, Meredith, and Isaac realized they had to confront the nightmare. If they didn't, the vow might claim all their lives. They decided to reenact the initial ritual, but in reverse, hoping to banish the malignant presence. Under the next full moon, ignoring the townspeople's pleas, they returned to the shack. The air was thick with dread. The battered pages of the old book rustled in the wind, revealing partial lines that hinted at an offering undone. The group improvised a reversal. Each wrote their name in the dust with a single drop of blood, chanting a disavowal of the original vow. Midnight arrived. The lantern flame gutter, dancing ominously. Then the robed figure materialized, far clearer than before, drifting in corners of their vision. They formed a circle, gripping each other's blood-marked hands, forcibly reciting the lines. A shrill wind whipped inside the shack, toppling crates. The figure roared in an inhuman voice, shaking the walls. It lunged at them, its form phasing through a wooden beam, intangible yet oppressive. Juna stifled a scream, and Isaac pressed his eyes shut, finishing the last words of the chant. The figure jerked, flickering like a dying flame. The wind died abruptly. The figure dissolved into swirling black motes that disintegrated in the lantern's glow. They collapsed, physically and mentally spent. Dawn broke with a quiet sun, the sky painted with gentle orange. No storms raged, no footprints marred the beach. Their hands no longer bore the cursed symbols. They had severed the oath, though at great cost, losing Alexander and severely wounding Rowan. While the immediate threat was gone, the town still felt the echo of dread. For generations, the families passed down warnings, never to recite unknown incantations in jest, never to take group oaths in that old shack. Juna, Meredith, and Isaac moved away eventually, but each carried faint scars on their palms. From time to time, travelers would mention glimpsing a robed shadow near the shack's ruins, but the ominous manifestations never took hold like before. The name, a bloody oath born from a dream, the uncanny nightmare pact coming true at dawn, became local lore.
Record it.
Some spin it as a moral, that meddling with the unknown can unleash horrors. Others interpret it as an allegory for guilt and groupthink. But for those who find themselves lulled by the scenic coastline, the decaying shack stands as a silent testament that not all storms come from the sea.
Sweet.
Some brew in the realm of nightmares, forging bonds that reality struggles to contain. Occasionally, a new wave of curious outsiders arrives, rummaging for relics, trying to find the old book. They might spot fragments of parchment or a scorched corner with cryptic lettering. A handful even claim to dream of that robed figure after handling these remains. Yet none has reported a tragedy on the scale of that fateful summer. The vow was undone, or so it seems. But in hushed corners of the local tavern, fishermen say the robed figure's footsteps might still echo under certain moon phases, searching for an unbroken covenant to exploit. They caution that if you feel your dreams turning too vivid, with shadowed watchers demanding blood, it's best to toss the relic away and flee before dawn. Because once the vow takes root, each sunrise might seal the price of your soul. Thus, the memory of that bloody oath continues to drift through the region, a whispered cautionary tale about nightmares stepping into reality. It remains potent proof that words spoken in jest, under the swirl of storm and half-sleep, can conjure malevolent forces we scarcely understand. The final lesson from that ill-fated group? The barrier between dream and dawn is perilously thin, and in that fragile boundary, a single oath can birth a catastrophe more real than any waking nightmare.